How's it going, YouTube? Dalton here. In this video, I'm going to tell you the one thing that you need to do in order to get a job as a developer in 2022. So this is actually something that's been inspired by a recent experience of mine, taking an interview, actively applying, and I thought I'd just share some of the insights that I gained that, thinking back on it, I wish I would have done earlier, right? So before we get to the solution, let's go and get a little bit of background here. On my channel, I get a lot of questions about, what kind of personal projects should I learn, should I do, how to go about it, how to teach yourself how to learn to code, right? But the one thing that I haven't talked about much is, what happens when you feel like you've gotten to a point where you think that you are pretty good. You think you've mastered Swift or Kotlin or JavaScript or whatever the language is, it doesn't really matter. Now, if it's like, yeah, should I start applying to jobs now? And obviously, the answer is going to be yes, right? What you need, so that's really what I would tell people, but that's not really the topic of this video. This is an area that I see a lot of people screw up on, and it's an area that I honestly struggled with in the 2 years that I spent jobless coming out of school, right? So what is this? Well, I'd be sending out resumes. I wouldn't be getting a lot of replies. I'd be just spamming out my resume and, not getting good replies. So naturally what I thought is like, my projects aren't good enough, so I'm going to continue to work on that. Well, lo and behold, I did work on the projects, and although my interview rate did frankly go up slightly, it didn't go up to the point where I was actually landing interviews on a consistent basis until I did this one thing. Now, what is this one thing? Well, this one thing is building a brand. Now, what does this really mean, right? And why should you do it? Because that's probably the questions that you're asking yourself right now is, why should I build a brand? Why should I waste my time on it? All that different type of stuff, right? And the important thing is when you're a junior developer, you are at a huge disadvantage because you don't have work experience. You're unproven, right? So companies naturally are very, very hesitant to hire junior developers because inherently they're a risk. They're a risk to train up. It takes longer for them to, get them trained up and, getting an ROI on their investment. And their investment is basically paying you salary, paying you your health benefits, if you're in the US, of course, and all those different type of stuff. This is a cost, and it takes time before you can make the company money, right? So and until I really understood this, I wasn't really getting any good results, right? So what does this have to do with branding? What this has to do with branding is it is really putting yourself as an authority figure inside of your space. Now, what does it mean, authority figure, and what does this mean, space? These are two different things, right? So space being your niche, the area in which you want to go to. Now, I know common practices especially for junior developers is just to apply to every position and see what sticks. Now, the problem is that the fact that, if you don't focus on something, you find that you're not going to find an area that sticks. That's what I found in my experience, at least, right? When I was doing web development and I was doing mobile development and when I was doing back-end development, I wasn't getting anywhere. It was only until I focused on mobile development did I start to get the results that I was looking for, right? And that was like interviews, mobile interviews, and stuff like that, right? Because early on in the journey, I was, applying for every position. I just searched software engineer, and I just clicked apply on Indeed, LinkedIn, AngelList, etc., etc. It didn't let me good results until I started to pick a niche. Now, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but that's the authority, that's the whole in your space side of things. Now, what about the authority side of things? How do you do that? Well, to do an authority, you have to show that you're knowledgeable in whatever language or framework or or area, field, mobile, full stack, front end, that you're going to be good at. So how do you accomplish this? Well, me personally, I like creating content. So I started off this channel. If you actually go back and look at the kind of content that I was making early on, I started this channel, making LeetCode videos because I was studying for interviews, right? And over time, I kind of transitioned that to, helping you guys pick what language that you're looking for, right? But the main thing is I chose a platform and I chose an area that I wanted to get into, and that's mobile, right? Because I was getting the most results and that's what worked for me, right? So the question might be, now that you understand my experience and you kind of understand from a high level, what to do, how can you apply this for yourself? Well, the first thing is you need to start with either choosing a medium. I like YouTube. I like creating content, but if you're not comfortable in front of the camera, then do Medium articles, for example. Medium articles are very helpful. And then on your resume, I actually have a section in my resume that displays my YouTube channel, and that's actually landing me interviews, right? And that's what really changed the game for me, is just putting my YouTube channel on my resume and actively working on that. Because a lot of people in interviews ask me about it and they think it's really, really cool, and they admire the amount of effort that it goes into making these kind of content, right? Because making YouTube videos isn't easy. But anyway, what you need to do is you need to choose an area, and you need to go and start creating content for it, right? And a common objection that I get to this advice is, hey, Donald, I don't feel like I know anything, right? I just watch a Udemy tutorial and I don't know anything, frankly. And honestly, we all have a story to tell. That's really what I believe in. And I believe that we can all contribute our unique experiences to provide value to other people, right? And I'm sure you have your own unique story that you can tell that's contributed to you getting to the point where you are right now, that could help out other people. So what do I mean by this? Well, let me give you a perfect example here. Let's say that you're in the beginning stages. You just picked up web development and you're studying that, right? You could create content on, whether it's a YouTube video or a Medium article, on the best courses that you found had the most value and you learned the most from that particular Udemy course or YouTube video. Because think about it, if someone's trying to get into web development, they read your article and they see that you've already been in the spot that they're in, and you know kind of the traps to avoid, and it could prevent somewhere. So that's really what's most important. That's really what was one of the mental blocks that prevented me from starting to make content on YouTube. Is I just honestly just started posting LeetCode videos because I was trying to understand them anyway, and it just so turned out to be something of a YouTube channel, right? I have 280 subscribers, by the way. Thank you very much. Your support is really appreciated. But anyway, just start by making content over there. And the thing about this content creation process is, as you're starting to learn and as you're starting to learn more in your coding journey, you start to learn different lessons that you can portray in your particular pieces of content that your audience will provide value, right? Because let's take my YouTube channel as an example. I'm not, I don't work at Fang, I'm not a senior developer. I don't make $500,000 a year in total compensation. But you know what? I have stories to tell, and over time, I'm going to learn new things, and some of the things that I share on this channel that I'm making to this day is probably going to be wrong, it's probably going to be outdated, but then I'm going to create other content of my learnings such that you can benefit from it, so that any new people that come in, they can see the journey that you've been on, and the fact that you got to this particular place. Now, what else can you do in terms of content other than telling your story? You could create tutorial videos on whatever you're studying, because if you're learning how to do web development or mobile development, it doesn't really matter. The best way to actually learn something is to teach, right? So let me give you an example. Let's say that I'm learning structs versus classes in Swift, right? So I decide to create a YouTube channel displaying the differences between a struct and a class, and I say, oh, a struct is a value type, a class is a reference type, a class allows inheritance, and then the reason why it allows inheritance is because, wait, why does it allow inheritance? And then you start to understand more. When you start to try to explain it, it's really hard to BS your way through it. And then that's going to be a really valuable way in order for you to start to build up that brand for yourself, right? Now, how does this apply from an employer perspective? When you're actively creating content, you display to your employer that you know what you're doing. And also, we all know that networking and referrals are the most ideal way. This is another way to actually stand out from the crowd other than, making better personal projects, because there's always going to be some developer who's going to be better than you. So you have to find other ways in order to get a leg up on the competition. And I found the best way to do so is to create a brand for myself. And honestly, I enjoy making content like this anyway, but that's besides the point, right? So to conclude this video, what I encourage you to do is start making videos. Make a video on, your favorite programming languages or some of the things that you learned, or, try to teach a concept to your viewers or write Medium articles. Start building that brand. And over time, when you get to the point when you're job searching, it's going to become so much easier than it was for me, because you already built up this foundation and you have all these pieces of content that you can say, here, look at all the Medium articles that I wrote. Look at all the YouTube videos that I've created. And look how much I know. I display my projects. I display how much I know, that I know the language. I know JavaScript. And, over time, they can see that you created this video 3 months ago and you're already creating these awesome projects by month 3. And it shows that you learn pretty quickly too, right? So that's what I encourage you to do is, right now, when you're clicking off on this video, go write a Medium article. Go record your first YouTube video. Who cares if it's shit? My videos are shit. My LeetCode videos have like a 50% like to dislike ratio, but I don't care. It's part of the journey, right? And it's part of building up the brand. And, that's what it's all about. As you start to learn new things, you make mistakes, and then you iterate, and then you make less mistakes, until you get to the point where you're making so little mistakes that you're actually good at what you're doing. So if you found this video helpful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you start creating your first YouTube video or your first Medium article, and I'll see you in the next video.